the agenda, or is that the?
They're going to be here.
Technically,
Oh, yeah, I printed that. Yeah. I'm finding out how bad of a printer I bought.
noted.
Always have that on. Oh, yeah, I'm big.
I've never gotten that.
Yeah. It's my re-election campaign. Yeah. What re-election campaign? There is none. Just saying that we should get
Hello? It's not green.
Okay, well, okay.
Does it need to be green? Okay. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. I am Mayor Shelley Carlson. Moorhead City Council is holding its regularly scheduled meeting using virtual meeting technology under emergency declaration due to COVID-19. I am in the City Council chambers with the City Manager, City Attorney, City Clerk, and a few other staff members. Other City Council members are attending remotely. Any public comment received prior to this meeting will be read as part of the record during the applicable agenda item. The public may participate during the meeting by calling 218-299-5001. Public input will be taken by a staff member and provided to me to be read during the meeting. Or you may request that your call be bridged to the virtual WebEx meeting and speak directly during our public hearings or citizens addressing the council agenda item. Again, the public comment line is 218-299-5001. If there is no answer, please leave your message or callback number. And again, today's date is April 12th, and it is 5:33. So if I could, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Could I get a roll call, please?
Shelley Dahlquist.
Here.
Matt Gilbertson.
Here.
Laura Caroon.
Here.
Deb White.
Here.
Larry Seljevold.
Here.
Chuck Hendrickson.
Here.
Steve Lindas.
Here.
And Mayor Shelley Carlson.
Here. All right, thank you. And can we all stand to say the Pledge of Allegiance? Right, number 3 on the agenda is agenda amendments. City Manager Molly, do we have any agenda amendments?
There are none, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Number 4, consent agenda. Could I get a motion to approve? Oh, yes, City Manager Molly.
We have a request to remove items 18 and 20 from the consent agenda.
18 and 20 is removed. Okay. All right, so we will remove agenda 18 and 20, numbers 18 and 20, no, 18 and 19.
18 and 20.
18 and 20, okay. Okay, with that amendment, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved, Deb White.
Okay, actually, Councilmember Hendrickson moved, and Councilmember White, do you want a second?
Sure.
Okay. All right, any discussion? Hearing none, could I get a roll call vote, please?
Dahlquist.
Yes.
Gilbertson.
Aye.
Caroon.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Seljevold.
Aye.
Hendrickson. Lindas.
Yes.
Okay, the consent agenda has been approved. Moving on to number 5, recognitions and presentations. I believe first on the agenda is our Neighborhood Impact Program from Gate City Bank, and we have 2 representatives, Sherry Smith and Angie Fogel. So welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Carlson, council members, and citizens. Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Sherry Smith. I'm a Senior Vice President of Retail Banking at Gate City, and today with me is Angie Fogel, Assistant Vice President and Personal Loan Officer at the Downtown Moorhead office. Cornerstone of Gate City Bank's mission is to serve our customers and communities by creating a better way of life. Today we'll discuss how the Neighborhood Impact Program offered by Gate City Bank does just that. Since 2003, Gate City Bank is proud to have been involved in this program throughout various communities across North Dakota, Western Minnesota, and now even Central Minnesota. The Neighborhood Impact Program is a series of programs designed to work together to improve neighborhood quality, life encouragement, investment in cities' existing neighborhoods. Gate City Bank's investment in the program continues to make a significant impact on the city's efforts to maintain affordable housing and keep our neighborhoods fresh.
The City of Moorhead Neighborhood Impact Program was established for local homeowners to encourage the preservation of homes and add to the long-term value of life of their property and neighborhood. We are thankful for this opportunity to help create a better way of life for our friends and neighbors residing in the City of Moorhead. Program details are included in the handout we'll distribute today. Please note that the deadline to apply for this program is October 31st, 2021. And at this time, I'll answer any questions you may have about the program.
Thank you so much. We are very interested in learning how to preserve our older neighborhoods and then also make sure that homes are affordable here in Moorhead. Are there any questions or comments? I do not see any.
Wonderful. And if there are no other questions, we want to take this opportunity to again thank you to allow us to share the neighborhood improvement program, and at this time present a check for $2 million as a token of our investment to creating a better way of life in Moorhead. Your eyes.
Thank you guys so much. This is just incredible, and thank you for continuing this program in Moorhead. It has helped so many homeowners. We just really can't express our gratitude. Thank you. And Mr. Huppen, did you have a few words you wanted to say about the program or anything? You were just here to do the camera? All right, thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you for continuing that incredible relationship with Gate City Bank. So. All right, on to the next item on the agenda is our Fair Housing Month proclamation, which I will read. Whereas the City of Moorhead and its Human Rights Commission are committed to preventing housing discrimination while promoting equal opportunity in Moorhead, and we recognize the importance of increasing community awareness regarding fair housing, and whereas each April the entire nation comes together to celebrate fair housing, and 2021 commemorates the 53rd anniversary of Title VIII of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, commonly known as the Federal Fair Housing Act. And whereas everyone has a right to a safe, decent, and welcoming house regardless of race, color, creed, religion, national origin, sex, disability, sexual orientation, public assistance status, and marital or familiar status. And whereas everyone has a right to live in neighborhoods of opportunity and choice where people can thrive and be healthy as a result of quality education, a clean and safe environment, and economic and social opportunities. Now, therefore, I, Shelley Carlson, Mayor of the City of Moorhead, do hereby proclaim April as Fair Housing Month in Moorhead. Thank you. And now on to 5C, Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. Mr. Molly.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a moment to say, Moorhead has been recognized by the Government Finance Officers Association with its Certificate of Achievement of Excellence in Financial Reporting. And, frankly, I'm really proud of this, and I'm proud of our team and our finance staff. That's an under-celebrated group of people, if you could imagine. There are assessors in there. They do paychecks. They do receipting and payables and all sorts of things. But this is the highest form of recognition in the area in the United States for governmental accounting and financial reporting. And I just wanted, our finance director, Carla McCall, has retired recently. I just wanted to recognize her good work and commitment and service to the City of Moorhead. And then the great people in the finance staff. This represents transparency in government and accountability, which I couldn't help as I was reading our city charter. Fits right in, anyone that knows me knows I have a mission base, right into our mission. In the preamble, it says the people of the City of Moorhead will, in order to secure the benefits of local self-government and promote honest, accountable governance, and provide for appropriate municipal service, will encourage citizens' participation and foster a sense of community. That is truly reflected in what the people that serve the city do, the people that live in this community, and this shows that level of accountability and transparency. And so I just wanted to lift that up a little bit and say thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Malley, and congratulations to Carla McCall on her retirement. I know that she did some really great things for the city, particularly with the Certificate of Achievement. And like you said, it's the highest recognition that we can get in governmental and financial accounting. So this is definitely something we celebrated. So I'm glad that you brought this forth so that we can provide that information to the public and be transparent about that. All right, moving on to number 6, approval of the meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the March 22nd, 2021 meeting minutes?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion, comments? Hearing none, could I get a roll call, please?
Dahlquist,
Yes.
Gilbertson,
Aye.
Caroon, Caroon.
Yes.
Oh, thanks. White,
Yes.
Seldvold,
Aye.
Hendrickson, Lindos.
Yes.
All right, the meeting minutes have been approved. Moving on to number 7, citizens addressing the council. Madam Clerk, do we have any citizens that are on the line wishing to address the council? Nope. Okay, and do I have anybody in the audience who wishes to address the council? Okay, seeing none, we will move on. Okay, next on the agenda is number 9, public hearing and bid award for 15th through 17th, 14th Avenue South and 18th Avenue South area and street improvements. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing?
Steve Lindos moves to open the public hearing.
Deb White seconds.
A motion and a second. Any other comments? Okay, can I get a vote, please?
Dahlquist,
Yes.
Gilbertson,
Aye.
Caroon,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Seldvold,
Aye.
Hendrickson, Lindos.
Yes.
Okay, the meeting is now open to the public, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Trowbridge.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll just give a moment here for the presentation to come up. Okay, so our first hearing tonight is for the 15th to 17th Street South and 14th Avenue South and 18th Avenue South area, also referred to as Myers Brothers Additions Phase 1. There were various Myers Brothers additions, most of them in the 50s, and this is the first phase of those streets that we're coming to with the project. There will be future phases in future years. So our CIP plan here, you can see the streets that are red are, and it's identified as 21-E in our 5-year capital improvement plan. Those are the streets we're talking about tonight. And so it's mostly between 12th Avenue and 20th Avenue South and 14th Street and 17th Street South. So as I had said, these streets were constructed in the 1950s. At that time, most of them, what it had was one fairly thin layer of bituminous pavement over the top of gravel. And they've been seal coated numerous times since then, but it's been a while since their last seal coat. But there's only so many times you can seal coat a road, and then you have to do something more substantial. This road doesn't have thick enough pavement to really do a mill and overlay, so we're looking at rehabs for most of them. A couple of them we will do mill and overlay with as well. But so some are rehab, some are mill and overlay, and some will actually be a reconstruct. And some of the streets have had water mains replaced in the past, but most of them have not. And so Moorhead Public Service will be working with us to get their water mains replaced in advance of our project. Most of the roads, the curb and gutter was in pretty good condition. There is a 2-block stretch of 17th Street where the curb and gutter is in noticeably worse condition. When we do a rehab or a mill and overlay, we'll cover the cost of replacing some of the curb, and we expect that to be 10%, maybe up to 20% of the curb and gutter that we'll replace. When it gets to be more than that, it's just not cost effective anymore. And so then it switches us into a reconstruct if we have to replace more than that. The sidewalks out there are generally in good condition. The utilities, as I'd mentioned, most of the water mains will need to be replaced. And then there are some sanitary sewer repairs. Moorhead Public Service will take care of their own water main replacement. The wastewater division asked us to include the sewer repairs within this project, and then they'll pay the cost of the sewer repairs. So that part's being paid for separately. Xcel Energy also has a lot of shallow gas mains in this area, and so they will be replacing those also in advance of our work. So quite a bit of work will be going on out there this year. And these next two slides just give an idea of where some of the curb and gutter hasn't drained very well, and that's really why you see that pavement breaking up so badly next to the curb is when it sits with water on it for an extended period of time. So that's an example of the couple of blocks that we're doing a full reconstruct on. This map shows all of the green roads are where we're going to do a mill and overlay, and then the red is rehabilitation. So mill and overlay means we'll just take off the top couple of inches of pavement and put down a new layer. We should get another 20 to 25 years out of the street that way. So that's our most cost-effective way to extend the life of the streets. A rehab, we take advantage of the fact that the curb and gutter is still pretty good, but the pavement just isn't there. We can't extend the life of the pavement part of it anymore. And then a reconstruct means we've got a lot more going on, and we're just going to have to replace the curb and gutter as well. So this one really is trying to show some of the other work we're coordinating with this project. So there's 3 green dots that you can see that represent sewer repairs. And then the blue lines are water main replacements. You can see there's quite a bit of water main replacement on this project. And then the orangish line would be where Xcel is going to do their gas main replacement. So the city roadwork part of this project is backed through the use of special assessments, and these are the rates that we currently use. We have $30 per front foot for a mill and overlay assessment, $61 a foot for local rehab, and $105 a foot for a reconstruction on local streets. And those costs are based on really what we see as actual costs, and we're only assessing about 30% typically of what a project cost is. The rest of it the city pays for. So even though nobody likes to get a special assessment, it's important to point out that the city is still paying most of the cost through the general tax levy, so everybody is paying for part of these. It's just the local residents do have a partial stake directly in the cost. And that is a necessity of using bonds in order to finance these projects. We have to assess at least 20%. So this is the map that's on here is actually also the map that got mailed out with the public hearing notice. And then what I have on the left side of this screen it's just summarizes what the special assessments are. So there are 208 properties that abut the improvements. 203 would get an assessment. 5 of them get 0 assessment. And that's because they're corner lots that actually faced or are oriented on the other street that isn't getting done. So they would get assessed for some other street, but not one of these. So for example, on 14th Avenue South, you can see a couple of them front on 14th Street instead, and they got assessed when 14th Street was done, and they're not getting assessed now that 14th Avenue is being done. Out of the other 203 properties, the average assessment is about $2,800. Most of them are in the range of $1,800 to $2,250. That's what the mill and overlay rates generated. The more expensive ones, the $6,300 assessments, are for the 2 blocks of road that are getting reconstructed. And then the rehab rate, those fall in between that. So as I'd mentioned, we need to assess at least 20%. The policy is designed to generate a little more than that to make sure that we don't accidentally fall under it sometimes, because some projects have varying assessable footages for us. This one, we're assessing about 29% of the cost, and then the rest of that is paid by the city. A very small piece of it's the wastewater fund. Okay, so as I'd mentioned before, this is just summarizing the assessments again. So public input so far, we had done a virtual informational presentation for people. They were notified of that, and we had about 49 views through the beginning of April. We received about 24 phone calls, and a lot of the questions had to do with, how we're refinancing the project, what the cost would be. Some people would like to widen their driveway, so we have a petition process. We'll work with them to get that done while we're doing our road work. And some people also had some questions about sewer service repairs possibly. And then otherwise, it's a lot of the typical questions are, how am I going to get in and out of my driveway while this road's under construction? How does garbage pickup work? Things like that. And then since we did the mailed notice on April 1st that was specific for this hearing, we actually haven't received any comments. So I think that informational presentation obviously was pretty effective. I think it answered most of the people's questions. Project schedule, at the conclusion of tonight's hearing, we would ask that you order the improvements officially and then award the bid. Construction should start probably late May, and as early as this year is going, they might even be able to get going a little bit earlier than that. And then it should be wrapped up by September, and then we would hold the assessment hearing in the fall. So again, tonight, hold the public hearing, and then following any additional public input to consider ordering the improvements and then award the bids. And one thing to clarify on the council agenda, I think it might have said that, I know it had the 4/5 requirement. That's accurate, but I think we might have identified it as 6 votes. It should be 7 votes. So we would need everybody to vote to order the improvements. You have any questions for me?
Thank you, Mr. Trowbridge. Madam Clerk, do we have any individuals on the line, the phone, for comments during the public hearing portion part?
No callers.
Okay, and is there anybody in the audience? Okay, I don't see anyone. Just waiting to see, I can see if there's other questions up here. All right. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Moved.
Lindos moves to close public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'll second it. Can't hear.
I'm not sure who seconded. I think it was Councilmember Lindos who moved, but I don't know who seconded.
Okay.
Councilmember
second.
Seldgevold seconded.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Any other comments or questions? Okay, can I get a roll call, please?
Dahlquist,
Yes.
Gilbertson,
Aye.
Caroon,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Seldgevold,
Aye.
Hendrickson, Lindos.
Yes.
Okay, the hearing has been closed. Any further questions or comments from the council to Mr. Trowbridge? Councilmember White.
Thank you, Mr. Trowbridge. While you're here, I just actually wanted to ask you a question, not specifically about this project, but as we're moving into the season, and I know several of us will get questions, not just about the projects that are being done, but what's not being done. And as you could probably guess, what I want to ask is, what do we have in the pipeline for north and somewhat west of Concordia? As you know, that's some of the worst areas that we have in Moorhead. And so every year I get questions when people see that streets that are already in better condition than theirs are being worked on, and we still have some that are really problematic. So what can you tell us about what we might see in this upcoming year in some of that older neighborhood north of Concordia and a little bit to the west too?
Okay, I know that some of those streets are in the 5-year CIP currently, mostly north of 4th Avenue South. But there are streets that are in the 5-year CIP. South of that, that's an area that as we update the CIP, we do expect to add more streets in that. That's an area that we know we will have more work coming. One thing about those streets is a lot of them actually are a concrete roadway that has a bituminous overlay on it. And so they look bad, but they're not getting as progressively worse as some of the other roads. So we have a little more incentive to work on some of the streets that we know are going to fall apart faster. That said, we do recognize that these are streets that we need to keep making progress on. So there will be an opportunity. We will present information to the council sometime fairly soon here about trying to plan for the next year. Our current CIP runs through 2024, and we're looking at what we're going to add as 2025 projects. And so that will be a good opportunity to provide some input on that. And then otherwise, if there are residents that have some streets that, if they check the CIP, which is on the city engineering page of the website, if they see some streets that aren't on there that they would really like on there, particularly if they live on those streets, they have an opportunity to provide some input and petition for that, and that can factor into some of the decisions on which streets should be done sooner. But that's a process. We keep evaluating those every year.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Trowbridge. And I know that Councilmember Lindas has your hand up.
I think Councilmember Dahlquist was before me.
Councilmember Dahlquist.
I was wondering if you can't see my hand. My setup is different this time for some reason. But first, I want to thank you, Mr. Trowbridge. I really appreciate how now you notify us when these assessments are coming up, and it's really nice to have the heads up before we get emails and calls, about this, so we can answer some of their questions and then steer them in the right direction. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. My question is about what is the criteria for how many assessments you can get in a time frame? And I'm wondering if that's what comes into why we choose some of the projects that we do in the city.
Yeah, it probably factors into it some as we're laying things out. Ultimately, if the roads need to get done, we'll work on them. Usually, what it comes down to is there's 3 assessments that people would typically get for these types of road projects. One is we're doing the local street that their driveway is on. The other 2 assessments are for a north-south collector arterial or an east-west collector arterial, because everybody will be in one of those. Those arterial assessments tend to be the smaller ones. It's $500, so we're not as worry, I mean, we recognize anytime we do an assessment, there's a concern. Generally, those assessment periods should come at least 20 to 25 years in between them. Or, we wouldn't come back and redo the north-south roadway for 20 to 25 years. But it is possible, and some people have gotten both of their collector assessments and their local assessment in a short span of time. It does happen, and we try not to do that, but sometimes we don't have much of an option for the roads that we need to get to. But yes, that is a concern.
Does that include the larger projects like the underpass?
The underpass is separate. That's that one's a special case that was a little bit different than just the normal arterial collector. But so that one could be different. So for example, if you lived just south or just north of 6th Avenue North, well, now you'd have to be south of 6th Avenue North, but north of 12th Avenue, you could have had a 20th Street assessment, and then a 12th Avenue assessment, and then possibly, we have not yet had the public hearing or the assessment hearing for the underpass project, but that would be, that one is a separate example.
Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Lindes.
Thank you, Mayor Carlson. Tom, I echo, I really appreciate the engineering site, especially with the videos that I think are actually helping answer a lot of questions that people might have about projects. So two, maybe one is more of a comment, and that is I knew that the current 5-year capital improvement plan was somewhere on the engineering page. And so I was tenacious, and I was going to ask you exactly where is it, and then I finally found it, just as I was like almost giving up. I don't know if there's a way to make some of the, what I would call big overview pictures more obvious to people, and maybe even multiple links. Right on the homepage of the engineering, they talk about the current 5-year plan, link to it, or do something. And basically just to augment the communication, because I think one of the things is once you know where something is, you know where to go. But if you don't know, different people approach the website differently, and so the more we can make that. And the other thing is to go along with that 5-year plan. I'm one of these people that oftentimes, the 5-year plan is great, but if we could see what the prior 5-year plan was, or the plans, you can actually sometimes stack it up and you can go, oh, I see what the city is kind of doing. And oftentimes we totally forget that we know our street was done and we can't remember what year it was done because we paid off our special assessments, so they're not keeping on our property taxes. So I think that would help a lot, and just as a form of communication. So that was my comments. Question, because I bike different routes around the city, mainly because I like to see how the pavement is, but I notice, especially the concrete streets, have very large vertical, discrepancies at times, which is jarring. And I don't know if it's possible to put sort of like a bituminous layer over to make a nice bike path, because what I can see happening is people like saying, oh, the sidewalk is much better here, and then going up on the sidewalk and then becoming a hazard for walkers. And I don't know if that's practical or not, or if you just say, Steve, stop biking around on random roads, bike on the bike paths. So that's my question.
Okay. I guess with any input you have from your experience biking, I would suggest you just bring that directly to us. We can look and see if there's things that are appropriate for us to do. The reality is the pavement management program we have is from the view really of automobiles. So there's a vehicle that drives our streets. It doesn't drive our sidewalks. It doesn't drive our bike paths. So I think if there's things that you notice, we actually do rely on the general public to point out some things that we can take a look at more closely and maybe fix things pretty easily if we can do that.
Thank you. That's actually extremely useful. And because I've had people that have stopped me and asked, hey, about this bike path stuff, would it be just, do you envision maybe making a special form where they can talk about sidewalks or bikes or other, non-car related items, or is she just general email to the engineering department?
I think for now, the general, that's usually how we get comments about areas that in the right of way that people have a concern with. And so if a general comment, and whether it's engineering or public works, either, if it comes to either one of us, we'll figure out who needs to see it and who's best apt to address it.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Councilmember White, and then I will be looking for a motion to move to address 9A and 9B on the agenda item.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'll just chime in again to say I agree. In particular, it's those concrete roads. And as somebody who bikes and runs and walks, my running group, there's roads we just don't even go on. And my real concern is that we do have folks that have mobility issues, and they've been saying that it's difficult for them to even cross the street in some places. So one of the things I would suggest is, could we do just a walking tour? And because we're working on making Moorhead more bike and pedestrian friendly. What if we were to go out and not in cars and go and do some tours of some roads? I'm sure that Councilmember Lindas and I could take you to some places pretty easily, but doing something like that, if we just spend a day going through some of our roads to see what our citizens are experiencing, I think that would be a great way to educate ourselves better about some of the challenges that we're having.
Yeah, I think our staff would be able to do something like that. We just have to plan it. So if there's something you want to do, organize, you can call me or email me, and we'll figure something out for that.
Thank you so much, Mr. Trowbridge. I know we got a little bit off topic here for this part of the agenda, since this is specifically supposed to be about the public hearing and bid award for these streets. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution and award the bid?
So moved.
White moves to approve.
Okay, Hendrickson moved, White second. Any further discussion or comments? Okay, seeing and hearing none, if I can get a roll call, please.
Gilbertson.
Aye.
Dahlquist.
Yes.
Caroon.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Seldgevold.
Aye.
Lindas.
Yes.
Hendrickson.
Aye.
Okay. Number 9 on the agenda, 9A and B, has passed. Thank you. Could I get a motion to open a public hearing for and bid award for 30th Avenue South from 14th Street to 20th Street, and 14th Street from 30th Avenue to 35th Avenue South area improvements?
Hendrickson, so
Linda,
moved.
can I open public hearing?
I think Hendrickson moved, and then Linda second.
Yes.
All right, and can I get a roll call to open this for public hearing, please?
Dahlquist.
Yes.
Gilbertson. Caroon.
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Seldgevold.
Aye.
Hendrickson.
Aye.
Lindas.
Yes.
All right, it is open for public hearing, and turn it back over to you again, Mr. Trowbridge.
Thank you. So this is the public hearing for 30th Avenue South and 14th Street South. So 30th Avenue South, the part we're looking at runs from 14th Street to 20th Street, and the existing road is a bituminous road that we're proposing to convert to a concrete road. And then 14th Street South is another bituminous road, and that one we would do a mill and overlay on from 30th Avenue to 35th Avenue South. These roads were built initially in the 1970s. 30th Avenue South is a bituminous with a soil cement base, which basically means they took some cement powder, mixed it into the clay, and it made the clay nice and hard, and then they paved over the top of that, and it made the road fairly strong, but it's also difficult to do much with that soil cement base. It doesn't drain very well. And it tends to, anything we do just with a pavement over the top of it would reflect through usually. So what we've been doing with those is when it's time to do a major project like this, we would just fully replace, remove that soil cement and put in a gravel base. And in this case, again, it's a minor arterial roadway, and our policy for the last 20 years has been to replace those types of roads with concrete. This corridor was actually studied back in 2001 and 2, and that was one of the recommendations then, was to do this whole stretch from 8th to 20th Street as a concrete roadway and to get a bike path along the whole way. We did it from 8th to 14th about 15 years ago, and we've been kind of waiting ever since to finish the segment. 14th Street South was a full-depth asphalt, which means they didn't even put the soil cement. They just paved right over the top of clay. And that was actually a common practice in the 1970s and 80s. We don't do that anymore. And actually, it was replaced with a bituminous and a gravel base in 2005, and that was because we did a sewer project. So that was not assessed to the property owners, but we made a major improvement. Basically, we did a rehab of the pavement and put a gravel base in at that point. And now it's ready for a mill and overlay. And so the pavement for 30th Avenue South, another thing that we used to do, we used to use minimum grade a lot of time, and it's a very flat roadway, so it doesn't drain very well. And as I said, it's been in our plan ever since we did our first 5-year CIP in 2005 for reconstruction, and we've just kept pushing it back. We really can't push it back anymore. The sidewalks, it does have sidewalks on both sides, but we would like to get a bike path all the way to 20th Street. Currently, there's that gap between 14th and 20th. Utilities are generally in good condition since they were initially built in the 1970s, so they were actually in pretty good condition. For 14th Street, the main issue we're dealing with there is that it doesn't have a crown, and that's a factor of we replaced that sewer, we put in a deep sewer main, and then we had to get the road open to traffic, so it got paved very shortly after that, and there's been settlement over the trench, and that resulted in an inverted crown. And so the mill and overlay will fix that. And there should be no more settlement. After 15 years, the settlement should basically be done. So curb and gutter is generally in good condition out there. And the ADA ramps are even pretty good too. And again, the utilities are in good condition. So proposed improvements, we're going to reconstruct 30th Avenue South as a concrete roadway. We're going to add a 10-foot concrete trail along the south side of 30th Avenue South. And then any existing ped ramps that need to be upgraded to be compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act will be corrected with this project. And because we're doing a full reconstruction, we're able to give a little better grade on the street, which means we're putting in some additional storm inlets and making some minor changes on the grade. And so it should drain better when we're done. And then 14th Street South is a simple mill and overlay project. Because of the settlement in the center of the road, we'll also have what's called a leveling course. It's just a little bit of extra thick asphalt in the middle of the road to help get the crown back. So one thing about this area is we do periodically get questions about the intersection of 14th Street and 30th Avenue South. People have asked over the years multiple times to have us consider putting in a traffic signal there. So we did take a look at that. It still does not meet the warrants. So warrants are anytime we do a traffic signal or even a street sign, there are specific guidelines and rules that we follow on when we put those in. Because if you put them in when they're not necessary or they aren't truly needed, people tend to not obey them properly, or they tend to cause more accidents than they would stop. In this case, the traffic levels just aren't high enough yet at this intersection to make a need for putting in a traffic signal. And so so all those black dots on this exhibit here, if they were charted so that they were to the right of those lines, that would mean it's meeting warrants. But since they're all to the left, and most of them are quite a bit to the left, that's implying that it's not very close to needing added traffic control at that intersection. What we will do, based on some of the feedback we received, is we will stripe the road to allow for another turn lane. So there'll be a left turn lane and a right turn lane when you're northbound on 14th Street at 30th Avenue South. And we do think that'll help address some of the delay that some people have experienced at that intersection. So the special assessment rates that would apply to these projects are $30 per front foot for properties that directly front on 14th Street and have access to. So if they don't have a driveway going out to 14th Street, they're not getting the $30 per front foot because it's not their local street. But they would get the $500 per equivalent lot for their collector roadway. So if a property has both a direct access to 14th Street and they're abutting it and they're in that area, they get both the $30 per foot and the $500 lot. So for example, the bank that's at the corner of 14th Street and 30th gets a front footage assessment and an area-wide assessment. They actually get 2 area-wide assessments because they get 30th Avenue also. They're a corner lot, so they're not getting assessed the reconstruct rate on 30th. So probably a lot of information there, but that's about our most complicated assessment on this project, was that property. So, and then the ones that front on 30th Avenue and have access to 30th Avenue would get the $105 per foot. This map was mailed out with the public hearing notice, and because we have overlapping, we have 2 different area-wide assessments, it's a little complicated, but the blue line is the 30th Avenue assessment area. That yellowish line is the 14th Street assessment area. And then otherwise, you can see properties that directly abut it get the area, or get the front footage rates. And then so the map indicates the red line is a mill and overlay, and the purple dashed line is where we're reconstructing. The total project cost is estimated, based on the bids that we've received, to be $2.855 million. We're assessing about 35% of that cost. If we hadn't had the area-wide rates on this, we would probably be a little bit under 20% assessed. So that's an example of one of the reasons why we have area-wide rates on these collector roadways, is a lot of times if people don't have access, we don't have enough assessment dollars to bond for the project. And so that's part of the purpose of those area-wide rates. So the assessment summary, there were 398 properties that are in the assessment area, and about $1 million is being assessed. The average assessment then is $2,500. The minimum is $500 because there are a lot of area-wide assessments. So the median assessment is even $500 because most of the properties got just the area-wide assessment. The maximum assessment was $29,600, and that actually was that property at the corner of 14th and 30th. They got 2 area wides plus front footage. So public input to date, we sent out a letter in the fall of 2020 looking to reduce some of the access points on 30th Avenue because a minor arterial roadway, we try not to have as many driveways. So I think there was one property that agreed to have us consolidate a driveway, but otherwise we weren't going to force it. We were just finding out the possibility of doing it. And that actually came as a recommendation too from that corridor study back in 2001 to try to reduce the number of driveway access points to the roadway. We also sent a notice out in January. 30th Avenue in particular, one of our most difficult things in design on this one is how can we reconstruct the road and keep access to those businesses? Because obviously businesses can't be shut down for a week or a month at a time. We need to keep people in and out at all times. So we have a plan that allows for that, and we've been working with the property owners so that they understand what we're trying to do. And then there was an informational notice in March that had a video meeting online. We received several comments on that. And then we've had this public hearing notice that was mailed out. We had several calls. Really, anytime we have an area-wide assessment, we tend to get a few more of those calls because it takes a little explaining to explain why to someone why they live 3 blocks away, but they got an assessment notice. So that's what most of the calls were on that. And then we did have 2 property owners that called about the intersection at 14th and 30th, and when we mentioned that the signal wasn't warranted, they were actually happy about that. They didn't want a signal, they were just curious about anything else like adding a turn lane, and they were satisfied with that. So this project, again, what we would, this shows the schedule, how we got to where we are today, and if after the hearing tonight, if you order the improvements, we expect construction would start sometime in May, and it's supposed to be completed by September. And then again, we would anticipate holding the assessment hearing in the fall. So I guess with that, if there's any questions you have for me?
City Clerk, do we have anybody on the call in regards to this public hearing? None at this time. Okay, and is there anybody in the audience? Okay, seeing none, could I get a motion to close this portion of the public hearing?
Let's move to close the public hearing.
Get a second?
I'll second.
Madam Clerk, did you get a second? Okay. Could I get a roll call, please?
Dahlquist,
Yes.
Gilbertson,
Aye.
Caroon,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Seljevold,
Aye.
Hendrickson,
Aye.
Lindas.
Yes.
Okay, and then Councilmember Lindas, your hand is up. Did you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Carlson. I guess the biggest question is, I assume that you've talked to the school district and about the buses and the increase in traffic that was part of, you know, the coordination in terms of figuring out the signal.
I don't know that we specifically reached out to talk to them. You know, I mean, they would have received the notices that we've sent out. So I guess I'm not aware of a particular concern on their part for it. We can, obviously, we happen to know pretty well a person who deals with their busing and infrastructure now, so we can even reach out to him and just find out if he has any thoughts on that.
Okay. And then the other question I will probably ask you separately, we can talk about, but I'm a big fan of roundabouts, especially when you're talking about intersections and traffic mobility. And that's, I know, not part of this discussion, so you don't have to answer. Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks.
Councilmember Lindas, were you done?
Yes, sorry. I muted myself as I was saying thank you, that's all. And then I realized I muted.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Lindas. Councilmember Hendrickson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Quick question, Tom. That 14th Street and 30th Avenue, I know we just did a traffic count for that intersection. When is the next one we can do? Because I can see traffic increasing there as the years go by. And I use that intersection every day, and it's not difficult right now, but it could become difficult soon.
Yeah, well, it's the intersection of 2 local streets. We have a city traffic engineer who has some nice tools at his availability, and he likes to use them. So I think, you know, if there's any questions about increased traffic and concerns at the intersection, he likes to do that stuff. He likes to get out there and observe it and do that. So I think, you know, we're able to respond pretty quickly if we get questions on that anyway and come up with the data.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Trowbridge? Okay, seeing none, I'm looking for a motion to approve 10A and B.
Dasso moves.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any other further comment or questions? Seeing none, could I get a roll call, please?
Dahlquist,
Yes.
Gilbertson,
Aye.
Caroon,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Seldgevold,
Aye.
Hendrickson,
Aye.
Lindos.
Yes.
All right, 10A and B have been approved. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Trowbridge. Moving on to number 12, our Economic Development Report, and I will turn it over to you, Mr. LaPointe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and good evening, everyone. Just a few updates here tonight from economic development. Obviously, COVID still becomes a primary priority for our economic development team and making sure our businesses are surviving and getting through it. A couple things to note. Obviously, everyone's aware of the American Rescue Plan. We are following that very closely to see what may be available for our businesses as far as funding assistance or other opportunities for those to take advantage of. One thing that we've been hearing around town pretty consistently is our workforce challenges. That becomes a very hot topic with our businesses around town and making sure that they have the staff necessary to operate at a successful level, especially as more businesses become closer to full operations with our state's latest order. So we are monitoring that closely. We're communicating with our businesses on a frequent basis, thanks to our partnership with Sherry at the MBA and others across our region here. Speaking of partnerships, we just recently re-signed through Downtown Moorhead, Inc. in our partnership with the Moorhead Business Association, our yearly partnership with Grow Minnesota. This is a state Minnesota Chamber of Commerce initiative that looks at collecting data specifically through surveys as we meet with our local businesses. It's obviously very vital to what we do on a daily basis to understand our business community's needs, but we think it's also very crucial that our state partners understand our challenges here locally so that they can understand and develop legislation and support our needs here locally. So that is an initiative that we're kicking off. I'll kind of look over at Madam Clerk over there. We're going to play a video here. I was recently asked to be a part of a video that was done by Revitalize Minnesota. This is a group that's trying to preserve the historic tax credits in the state of Minnesota. They were set to sunset this year. And just a quick update before we watch the meeting. Since the release of this that's been sent to Representative Marquardt and others, we have seen a proposal in front of the legislation to extend that historic tax credits for a period of 8 years. So a very impactful video that I'll ask the Madam Clerk to play right now. When you drive around Greater Minnesota and you see those old historic main streets, there's something special. So much of what we try to do in economic development and growth perspectives is looking at job creation, and the Simon Warehouse is a prime example. You have a project like this that ultimately brings construction jobs, but the spin-off of these projects and what that means to a variety of different industries and kind of marketplaces is very, very impactful. This was, in our sense, is a catalytic project for our downtown growth.
When we talk about historical tax credits, you're talking about revitalizing the character of a city or a space, and you're talking about the historical importance of a building. And to me, not only is it like storytelling, but it's also about the heritage.
Our development community is small. We're not attracting national developers or even broad-scale regional developers. These are people right in our backyard that are making this investment in our community. I think if the historic tax credits were to sunset and it wasn't to be extended, you would see less businesses or developers take a chance. Having access to historic tax credits is one of the only reasons why this project and others happen across the state. Thank you for playing that. And I should note that the Revitalize Minnesota group, they did interviews across Greater Minnesota from St. Cloud all the way up to Moorhead. I think between Tim and myself and certainly Kevin Bartram and the Swing Barrel folks, I think did a nice job, and they were able to cut a video specifically for us here in Moorhead, as well as a longer video that focused on the rest of those communities. But I think it's just a great showcase. Obviously, Kevin Bartram and his team that did that Simon Warehouse project a few years back was very catalytic for what we've seen now happen on Center Avenue, specifically with the Center Avenue project that Andy Scattville did with Swing Barrel and Nature of the North and the other businesses that are behind that project there. So nice to see some progress, and obviously nice to see Representative Mark Wart put a proposal in front to see those credits go forward. We don't have a ton of historic buildings left in Moorhead, but certainly a program and a policy like that is very crucial for the few that we have if those were to change. The last couple things I'll mention is we've been starting to get a lot of great recognition for our downtown master planning efforts. We're starting to see some programs and initiatives come out of that. But I think because of how successful our public engagement process was in that, the Stantec Group, who is our primary consultant on that, has asked me to partake in a few different national webinars with the International Downtown Association, as well as encouraging us to submit for International Downtown Association Award for our downtown master planning efforts that hopefully we'll find out within the next couple months if we've been accepted and awarded for one of those applications. The last two things that I'll note, and it's no secret to anybody here on the council, but I think it's always good to continue to plug initiatives to get engaged from the public's perception, and that's the City of Moorhead Comprehensive Plan, Onward Moorhead. Be sure to check out the city website on that. Our planning department is the one leading it, and I think it's vitally important that our community, not only the residents, but the business owners, partake in that. And probably more so too, the Clay County Comprehensive and Transportation Plan. This is an initiative that Clay County and MetroCog is putting on. They recently held a public open house that was virtual on March 23rd. I think there's opportunities to get more people engaged with that process, as certainly Moorhead and our inclusion in Clay County is very impactful with our size of our community. So please be sure to be on the lookout from the general public on opportunities to engage in that process. With that, I'll pause and answer any questions that the council members may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. LaPointe, and great acting. You did a great job. And thank you also for informing the public about those opportunities to be engaged and provide input with not just with Clay County, but also our new comprehensive plan that we kicked off with Onward Moorhead. That's really going to help, give us the direction for the next 10 years for the city of Moorhead. So any other comments or questions before we move on to MPS? Councilmember Lindas.
Thank you, Mayor Carlson. Okay, so this is, I just want to date. So Mr. LaPointe, by the way, I love that video. The Clay County is only a few more days for you to do it. So April 16th is the last day for public input for that. So don't delay, rush out today and complete that. How much time do people have to do Onward Moorhead?
We're just in the, I'm not the lead on that, so City Manager Molly can probably add to it, but we have recently done a open house or public engagement that was virtual a couple months back. I know there's plans to have more of that in the future, but City Manager Molly, do you have anything to add?
Certainly, we have quite a ways to go. We just finished the first phase of 4, so anywhere from 8 to 12 more months.
So plenty more opportunities to get involved.
Sorry, I talked over people.
That's okay. I think that the Onward Moorhead, like City Manager said, it's just getting started. That wouldn't be even presented to council for approval until September 2022? Sometime in 2022. I'm not remembering the month.
Earlier than that.
Okay, maybe March.
Yeah, first part of the year, January to March.
All right, thank you so much.
The point is there's opportunity for residents to get involved. Definitely do the Clay County right now, and then start thinking about Onward Moorhead.
Yes,
Thanks.
That is correct, Councilmember Lettuce. There is time. All right, thank you so much, Mr. LaPointe, and good luck. I hope to hear back in a few weeks about maybe an award that Downtown Moorhead has won. Thank you. All right, moving on to number 13, the resolution to receive and file Moorhead Public Service Commission's policy for economic development rate incentive program. Mr. Schmidt.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for having me here tonight. I'm going to give a brief update from what Moorhead Public Service Commission did last week. And then City Manager Molly has a resolution that needs to be approved as well. Since 2009, we've had a economic development incentive program in Moorhead, and really it was to attract and facilitate expansion or a primary sector business in Moorhead. And it's been a great thing we've had, and we'll go through some of those items as well too. A lot of that was tied around the reduction in transfer amount based on the new sales or new kilowatt hours that were put in place. Again, that was done so that we could provide a roughly 1 cent per kilowatt hour incentive to the customers. Along with that, it helped pay for some of the minor capital costs as well too. In the last decade that we've had this program, we've only actually seen one customer utilize this program. They received about a $677,000 benefit over about a 5-year period. And really, the 5-year period, it was 1 cent per kilowatt hour over a 5-year period. So any kilowatt hour sales that they had on the new facility or expanded facility is what they've got. Overall, and the reasons why we made some modifications is the transfer agreement that was put in place in 2015. Over that time period, again, we've seen minimal residential growth. We've seen, again, minimal commercial growth, and we've had some not as warm or cold winters or summers as well. So that has actually saw our kilowatt hour sales stay pretty flat, maybe a little bit declining as well too. Again, those are the items in place and how we're going to handle them. But what really happened as we looked through this, and we noticed there was a concern that we needed to fix. So we have partnered with Missouri River Energy Services, which is our supplemental power supplier. And they've actually got an economic development rate discount program in place. And they put it in place about a year or so ago to help all the members. And there's 61 members that they also work with besides Moorhead. And within that, they come with a tiered approach on how they handle this. And it's actually a really good program. Not only the current program or the existing program that we've got is actually more for larger customers. And this program actually reaches down to hit some of those smaller customers of ours or more medium-level businesses. So the benefit that we've got is that it's going to help touch more customers and grow Moorhead a little bit more conveniently than our current or existing program that we've got. How it really works, or the funding mechanics behind it, is that there is a purchase power credit that Moorhead Public Service receives. Of that credit, roughly 50% goes to the 50% goes to the customer, and then MPS can also utilize the other 50% of that to pay off any capital infrastructure costs, whether it's a purchase of a large transformer, wires or equipment to get power to the facility, or expansion of a building. So that's really what it's utilized for. The second piece of that is once MPS has paid off their capital infrastructure costs, we're going to provide the remainder of our credit to the customer to give them more than that additional or original 50%. Overall, there's a couple of flyers that I think you've been provided to you in your packet. Really, it's the Missouri River Moorhead Public Service flyer that will be working with economic development, Derek and his staff. And really, if you look about it, there's really 4 tiers. It's a 2 megawatt tier, a 1 megawatt tier, a 500 kW tier, and then a 250 kilowatt tier. Now, again, those are all power, the amount of load that you're going to use. Along with that, there's some other requirements that they have to meet as well, too. They've got to have a certain kilowatt hour sales, and they've got to have a specific load factor or above that. Customers can kind of fluctuate between those if they're kind of on the line. So, again, this is something we'll have to sub-meter or net, or I shouldn't say sub-meter or meter separately. Along with that, they can't have any internal generation. It has to be all for new load. It can't be a business moves from one location to the next and tries to get a discount. So it has to be a new load. It can't be anything existing. Really, the other side of that, too, is we made a slight modification to the economic development incentive for MPS's water system as well, too. We've actually adjusted that and expanded it to a 4-tier system as well. 2.5 million cubic feet, 5 million cubic feet, 7.5 million cubic feet, and 10 million cubic feet. And these are pretty large usage pieces, but it's something that we wanted to offer have it as a piece in our toolbox as well, too. How this is actually going to be funded is it will be, the funding mechanism will be, again, a reduction in the water transfer in both capital and general funds from the city of Moorhead. That's how we're going to pay for this program as well, too. So with that, again, like I said, we'll be working with the EDA group. They'll be providing this information to whether it's a new business looking to come to Moorhead or an existing business that's looking to expand in Moorhead. Again, we're trying to grow the load efficiently and economically. So, and this is a very good, or from the electric side, efficiently and economically, but also if there's some water needs there as well too, we're able to provide that as well. With that, I will open it up for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Schmidt. Councilmember Dahlquist.
Thank you, Mayor and Travis. I appreciate the coming up with this new idea to attract businesses. I just have, I'm kind of questioning the incentive to just instantly give an incentive. I would rather it be companies, if they came here, would provide full-time living wage jobs, and that the company would stay here and then give the incentive instead of giving the incentive right away where there's no reason to stay. I mean, we've had companies that have come and if it's at that 1 million kilowatt hour level, those would be larger corporations to start with that wouldn't have a problem paying the higher rates. And I did try and do the math, and when it comes to the 1 million kilowatt hours a month, we're talking almost $110,000. And then so the like a 1 cent discount is $10,000 a month. We're talking a lot of money, and I know it's Missouri River is paying for it, but eventually the others will be paying for it with their rate increases eventually. And then with the water, I remember my parents, I mean, this is back when I was quite young, but when the malting plant came in and changed in how the water rates were raised and the concerns about where the water was coming from, I would, if we're going to give this kind of incentive, I would rather there be some kind of advantage for the city, because when they do build here, we do give them that tax incentive abatement too for new construction. So I'd like to see the city have some kind of increase in activity for or it would help the community with jobs, which we need. I mean, it would be nice to have larger companies come and provide these jobs. But I would like to have more of an incentive to stay and provide for the community, be profitable for the community also.
I'm going to let Derek LaPointe start that question, or the answer to that question.
I guess what I'm asking then is what is your timeline? What's the deadline for coming up with this incentive program? Can we talk about it more before we vote on it, or do you need this tonight?
Missouri River Energy Services, it's their program. They're providing the electric incentive. So there is no financial or rate impact for the electric or excuse me, for the electric portion of the program. That's more of an informational piece. They're providing it to us, and then we're going to provide it to businesses as they're looking to expand or move to Moorhead. From the water rate perspective side of things, again, it's all based on new water sales. So what happens for a 4-year period, those water sales, MPS would not be required to pay a transfer on that through the general fund and the capital improvement fund. Again, that's how this works, I guess, is the response to that.
And then, Mr. LaPointe, I know that you had a few comments that you wanted to add in that might help to respond to Councilmember Dahlquist's questions.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councilmember Dahlquist. I'll speak maybe in generalities, and hopefully this maybe will help too. To me, when Travis brought this forward to us and to Dan and to Amy Thorpe to consider, obviously with Missouri River utilizing this program across their district, we felt it was a good opportunity, another tool to utilize. But to me, I think more importantly, I view this as a how do we service some of the existing businesses that we already have, especially from an expansion standpoint. We have a lot of great businesses that are wanting to stay within this community, and I think job creation is a part of that. You look at some of the conversations that we've had with folks and the expansions that they would do within our community, and the jobs, number of jobs that they would add at high-paying jobs are crucial. So I view this as just another opportunity to service what we have. Yes, there are incentives that Travis can hit on as far as those obligations, but I think as this program is offered across the District of Missouri River, I think it's a unique opportunity for Moorhead to kind of jump on board and utilize this for many of the great businesses we have within our community.
Thank you, Mr. LaPointe. Mr. Schmidt, did you have any other additional comments to add? Okay.
I'll wait for questions.
Okay. Councilmember Dahlquist, your hand is down, so I'm assuming you don't have any follow-up questions.
Well, I guess the part of my question was, it's nice to have incentives to draw businesses in, but I would like it also to have some kind of the job opportunity. And I know Mr. LaPointe said that we're talking about already existing businesses and their increase in activity and growing with more jobs. And I think that's all great. I would just like to have some kind of assurance that we don't have someone like Amazon come in. I mean, we're probably not, right? We're not going to get Amazon coming here with a large $110,000 a month bill. But I just want to ensure that we have employers that are going to be having living wage jobs and not bringing in, warehouse workers that are not making. I mean, that's my. I just want our city to ensure that if we are going to bring someone in, that we have some say in what kind of jobs they bring in, and just giving incentives without having some kind of stipulations for that. I guess, is there any way we can add something into the wording that would say, that would also have living wage jobs?
Good question. Again, from the Missouri River option, I would, that's that's for all their members, so they're more looking at it from a energy sales portion and less from a jobs portion. From the water side, every type of industry is a little different in how you would handle those. I think, we've all seen different things that it states, sometimes it's good to have that job requirement, but it could also cause you to lose out on having a business move to Moorhead as well too. From the standpoint of wages, that's probably a little bit out of my realm on that. We're just, again, like Derek said, we're looking to use this as another tool in the toolbox to incentivize somebody to move to Moorhead or expand their business. I would suspect that typically that's going to increase the amount of jobs within that organization.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Schmidt. And I know that Councilmember Lindas had his hand raised.
Thank you, Mayor Carlson. So there's a couple questions in here, and probably one of them is not probably answerable by you, but I guess to segue off of Councilmember Dahlquist's question, taking advantage of the pass-through that Missouri River Energy is offering makes sense from an economic development standpoint. And, I think one of the aspects of this is I work with energy, and I know what a megawatt is, but can you give people a sense of, what you're talking about in terms of the 4 different tiers? I think a lot of times people just hear numbers and they don't have a really good sense of, are we talking a swing barrel and a junkyard brewery expansion? In other words, what we're talking about. If you're talking about 1 megawatt of power, that gives a little bit of scale in terms of what kind of industries and what kind of incentives we're actually looking at here. Most of our businesses fall into the lower tier. In other words, the perspective would be useful because sometimes that can help.
Good question. From the perspective of, let's use the 500 kW tier as a good example. You could even use the 250 kilowatt tier as well. A retail store like a grocery store or something like that that has a decent load, they could easily receive the rate incentive, I guess, at this point in time. From the perspective of a brewery of some sorts, based on some of the loads we've been seeing, it'd have to be a major expansion now. Is that possible? It depends on how their growth is going. They could, if they're looking long-term and they have a major expansion, I think that's possible as well, too. You're talking some of the smaller restaurants in town, those probably aren't going to qualify for it.
Thank you, because that's what I was kind of thinking. I was kind of thinking manufacturing, really high-paying jobs where people are using lots of induction motors and mills and other things that could get up in the large electrical load. And are good jobs. So I guess just to say, I would also be supportive of what Councilmember Dahlquist is saying, and that if there's ways to incentivize existing businesses to expand, especially those that have already invested in Moorhead, that would be fantastic. So the question that I don't know if you're able to answer is this aspect of Missouri River Energy is now trying to incentivize using more energy. And we're in a situation where we would like to become more efficient. We just had rolling power outages that were imposed on us at a very short notice because there wasn't enough electrical power energy generation. And so I realize I'm asking you a question that you can't answer most likely, but maybe you've heard something. Missouri River sent out some really nice packets. I assume the rest of my council members also received that. And I was going through that and I had some questions. I haven't sent them yet to you from that packet. But one of them was, how are we incentivizing energy efficiency so that we limit, or I should say, improve our community's resiliency?
Nope, good question. I think I can answer that pretty easily. So 2 things. As part of the requirements that is in that flyer from Missouri River and MPS, there is a load requirement of 50% to 60% load factor. So again, it has to be it has to be a good load or good power, good clean power from that standpoint. From the energy efficiency side of things, Missouri River offers a program called Bright Energy Solutions. And that's a program that provides rebates to existing customers to either put in more efficient lighting or better motors or VFD drives to help them with their overall energy usage as well too. So there's a couple different ways we can handle that. Oh, Derek LaPointe wants to add a point.
I'll make one comment to that, and thank you, Commissioner Lindos. So one partnership that we've continued to grow is with that state Chamber of Commerce in Minnesota. They do have a team dedicated to sustainability and energy efficiencies. So we actually have, pre-COVID, we are lining up an energy audit with Anheuser-Busch and looking at their facility and some of their updating needs. They have opportunities across the state of Minnesota to utilize some of those efficiencies as well. So that is a partnership that we value and cherish to utilize throughout all of our businesses here in town to create efficiencies in our system. So hopefully that helps as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Schmidt and Mr. LaPointe. Do I have a motion to receive and file the MPS amended policy for economic development rate incentive program?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Overton, second.
A second, motion and a second. Any further discussion or comments? Seeing none, could I get a roll call, please?
Dahlquist,
Yes.
Gilbertson,
Aye.
Caroon,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Seldgevold,
Aye.
Hendrickson,
Aye.
Lindas.
Yes.
All right, the resolution has passed. Thank you so much. Moving down to, I believe, number 18, the resolution to approve a conditional use permit for self-storage at 2724 12th Avenue South, and I will turn it over to Robin Houston.
Thank you, Mayor Carlson and council members. I'm Robin Houston. I don't believe I've met all of you yet. I'm the city planner, and I also happen to be the staff liaison for the Onward Moorhead Comprehensive Plan update. So I did want to just mention, thanks, Derek, for giving us a plug. We are working in the background, but you just haven't heard from us lately. Phase 2 will be starting later this month with some continued public engagement. So watch out for that. And also, we do have a scheduled joint workshop with the Planning Commission and the City Council on the May 24th meeting at 4:30, right before your regularly scheduled council meeting. So we'll have the consultant down, and they'll give you an update about where we're at, what the next steps are for the Onward Moorhead project. But back to this conditional use permit, the applicant is requesting a conditional use permit at this location, and if you may recall, the City Council did rezone this parcel last month from neighborhood commercial to community commercial for this project. The public comments that were received primarily from the Townhome Association that's behind the project to the it's to the northwest. We incorporated a lot of their concerns into the conditions of approval. So you can see in that project, there's, I believe, nine conditions of approval. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval. I'd be happy to answer any other questions, and I believe the applicant is also on this call if you have questions for him as well.
There we go. Thank you, Ms. Houston. Any questions or comments? Okay, Councilmember Caroon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had some neighbors reach out with concerns, so I just would love it if you could address how you plan to minimize the impact on the neighborhood as far as traffic and lighting and any kind of buffer.
Certainly. So when speaking with the neighborhood, some of the primary concerns were, light pollution, noise from the facility, preservation of the existing tree line. And we did work with them in the conditions that we created for this site, which we added, we limited the hours of operation so that kind of go along with our regular our noise ordinance hours. Hours of operation would be 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. so nobody could enter the site after 10 p.m. Limited the structures to 1 story on the northern part of the parcel. It seems like this parcel will require some on-site stormwater retainage, so there won't be any buildings that back up to the very northern part of the site, so that will give further bufferage from the townhomes to the self-storage. We added the screening with a combination of fencing and landscaping. So what I had suggested probably with the neighbors is that the applicant is going to try to preserve as many trees as possible, but it's kind of an unknown situation because we don't know the condition of those trees. They probably haven't been properly maintained for many years. Excuse me. So, if they do have to remove some trees, we could plant some additional trees in addition to the fencing. All the vehicle access will be coming off of 12th Avenue South. And the lighting is regulated by our general site development standards, which has to be footed and so that it's not directed, across property lines.
Is there any potential of planting, trees or larger vegetation as a buffer in between?
Yes, that is one of the conditions, that they'll provide us a fence, at least a 6-foot fence plus additional trees to try to preserve the existing tree line. But then if some of those trees have to come down, maybe do some additional plantings. And the applicant can answer that, what his plans are as well.
Did you guys want to add in? I'm not sure what the names are, Ms. Houston, of the applicant.
Mr. Rude is on the call, I believe. Mr. Riley Rude.
Mr. Rude, did you want to make some comment here to address Councilmember Karoun's question?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of unknowns. At least the tree that we're talking. I haven't owned the property yet. Subject to this approval, I guess it'll through, but seeing trees alive is not something that I've had the ability to do, so I don't know what all is there. There will be some that are in the center of the property that have to come down, but there is a fence on the west property line already. To just assess what's there, whose fence it is. It borders at least a portion. I think the property is almost 600 feet deep. As you move north, which would be getting closer to that cul-de-sac where the one residential, I share a boundary with one of the residential townhomes. Just making sure we're going to shift the site as close to the drainage ditch as possible. Just one, it'll eliminate the need to remove a lot of those trees. And I think I've got about 40 feet of play as far as moving it. So, I've done a few other projects in Moorhead, and this one I didn't expect a whole lot of I don't want to say, I guess, pushback, just because there's a lot of space over there to utilize, and we do have to get some stormwater, and it's likely going to be in the form of a retention pond on the north end. And I've got about 65 feet from the end of the last building, tentatively to the other residential house that I share a property. So there's quite a bit of room to, so I guess I'm not too concerned about any light pollution or noise, because there's just so much space between where my buildings will be.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rude. Okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kroon. Oh, thank you.
Yes, that's it. Thank you, Mr. Rude.
Thank you, Councilmember Kroon. Okay, I don't see any further hands or questions, so I'm looking for a motion to approve the grant, or I'm sorry, to approve the conditional use permit for self-storage.
Steve Lindausen moves approval.
A second?
Gilbertson, second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or comments? Seeing and hearing none, could I get a roll call, please?
Dahlquist?
Yes.
Gilbertson?
Aye.
Karoun?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Seljevold?
Aye.
Hendrickson?
Aye.
Lindas?
Yes.
Okay, the resolution passes. Thank you. And moving on to number 20 on the agenda, this is also you, Ms. Houston. This is to consider actions related to 679 and 681 Apple Tree Lane.
Yes, thank you again, Mayor Carlson and council members. The applicant is requesting both a rezone from neighborhood commercial to community commercial, and then also a comprehensive plan amendment from low-density residential and neighborhood commercial to community commercial. These, it's really 3 parcels have sat vacant since platted in the 1960s. And we felt the request is more in line with what's at that corner for the commercial users there already, and the structures. We found that these neighborhood commercial nodes, they're good in theory, but not necessarily good in practice. They're meant to provide zoning, a bit of a buffer between the neighborhood and regular commercial users. Unfortunately, planning theory doesn't always work. So these were rezoned. The existing uses at the corner are, I believe they're all non-conforming uses of the neighborhood commercial. So what the applicant is proposing here is in line with what's there. The uses that would be going into this, what they're called shop condo building, would be no more intense than what's already there at that corner. The applicant, as I mentioned, he is proposing the shop condos, which he does have a development straight diagonal from this site across the corner of Main Avenue and 12th Avenue. These shop condos are already permitted by right in the neighborhood commercial district, but he was concerned with the limitations on the users he could sell the units to. And a few users that he mentioned was he typically does sell them to contractors like plumbers and electricians, but in neighborhood commercial, those would not be permitted in those shop condo units. We did have a representative from the Meadowview Town Home Association, which is right across Apple Tree Lane. It's 10 units of twin homes. And they basically, their concerns were the overhead doors of the shop condos facing their units, the noise, the possible noise created, the increased traffic in and out, the number of driveways on Apple Tree Lane, lighting pollution, depreciation of property value, and then also glare from like a metal rooftop. After I spoke to that person, I did contact the developer and just talked about a few different ideas, and one that was suggested was to turn the building so the building wouldn't face the townhomes. So originally the applicant had proposed to face the doors east, which would be facing the townhome development. He has submitted a revised site plan where instead of one larger building, he could build two smaller buildings, one facing north and one facing south. So there would be a slight view of the buildings facing north, but with some additional landscaping on the boulevard, those could possibly be screened. And then also the lighting on the site would be more, it would be faced towards the middle of the development as opposed to being faced out towards the street. The Planning Commission did recommend unanimously to approve the project. I believe the applicant's representatives are also on the call. I think they must be, I don't see the name, but I do see their faces, the 3 people in the window. And I can answer any questions, but I'm sure they could also answer questions as well.
Thank you, Ms. Houston. Do we have any comments? Okay, Councilmember Kroon.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Houston. I appreciate the care and thought taken into this project and thinking about the impact on the neighborhood as we have residential areas so close. And just for their benefit, I would love for you to talk just a little bit more about your plan to minimize the impact on the neighborhood.
Well, the lighting would be mostly for the lot itself, for the lighting that we add onto a building site. The other things are, there is a setback on the north side of the lot where there is some room for doing some more buffering, like with some trees put in there. And along doing the two buildings instead of the one, it would narrow the driveway and would give more boulevard room to do some plantings. So we like to have our places looking good. If you look at the one on 12th Avenue, the one on 25th Street, on the corner of 25th Street and 12th Avenue, we keep them up. We keep up the lawns, drainage, and try to make it as pleasing as can be for the operators that are in there. They do have a condo association, and they are run as strict as we can be with people that either own or rent in the units. Most of these, after we've had some on 26th Street South in the Moorhead Industrial Park, most of them get bought out. They're owned by individual owners in time. And they're particular too how they upkeep their building, because they like to keep their value up. So I think it would be, did I say a benefit to the area? But it would match right in with the properties that are right to the south and the east of where we want to put these.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay.
Does that address your questions, Councilmember Karoon?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your time tonight.
Yep, thank you so much. And thank you for looking at investing in Moorhead, sir. I am looking for a motion to approve 20A and 20B. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Councilmember Seltervold.
I need a little education, Robin, on what's allowed in community commercial.
Certainly, community commercial is our general commercial district. So most, retail, restaurants, offices, those type of uses. So in these shop condos, you typically see, you do see contractors renting out space. You also see, people will buy them and they'll just have like a personal shop where they can tinker. We do have a cricket business in town in one of the, I don't know if it's in a shop condo, but it's in a similar building. So I'm betting that it is in a shop condo building. But yeah, the neighborhood commercial just has a few, it allows us a lot of the same uses as community commercial, but there's just a few uses like cabinet makers, contractors like electricians and plumbers. Those types of uses aren't allowed in the neighborhood commercial.
Councilmember Gilbertson.
Yeah, I don't see in the notes that, how many units are they looking to put up there? I know there's 2 buildings, but how many units?
That hasn't been determined yet. We just, for zoning, we don't require a site plan. We just have a draft site plan. So if I can share my screen, I can try and show you the draft plan that he showed me at the Planning Commission. So originally, he was planning to have one longer building facing east. And now these are 2 54 by 130 feet buildings. I'm not quite certain how many, maybe the applicant can answer how many units. I would think at least 3 in each building, but he could answer that better than I could.
The other building, yeah, the single building was 7 units. And
now we're proposing 8.
8, 4 in each building.
They'll be facing each other?
Yep, they're facing each other, which will help with noise pollution as well.
Yeah, I've seen those in the industrial park, and that makes more sense if it's going to be in that area. Because if you have the problem, you might end up with 8 different owners down the road if you sell them individually, and not everybody may have the same care and what they leave outside and what they put inside. So at least if they're facing each other, that makes more sense. Thank you.
I see no further comments or questions. I am now looking for a motion to approve 20A and B.
So moved.
Deb White seconds.
I have a motion and a second. Any further comments or discussion? Seeing none, could I get a roll call, please?
Dahlquist,
Yes.
Gilbertson,
Aye.
Caroon,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Seldgevold,
Aye.
Hendrickson,
Aye.
Lindas.
Yes.
Thank you. And the motion is approved. Or resolution, I should say. All right. We are now at the point on the agenda where we are going to be doing our Ward 2 City Council candidate interviews, but we all have been, oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Mayor, we have one more item before we get there. Item 24.
Oh, yes, we do. I am sorry. I apologize, Mr. Iverson. My agenda has writing all over it. I tend to scribble, so I did not see that. So number 24, resolution to approve exchange and purchase agreement for 1701 34th Street North and 1300 15th Avenue North. Turning over to you.
Resolution and final approval of the exchange and purchase of the properties listed at 1701 34th Street North and 1300 15th Avenue North. So background, the 34th Street North property is at the northwest corner of 15th Avenue and 34th Street. It will be the site of the new county solid waste transfer facility that they anticipate breaking ground on here in the next couple of weeks, from what I've heard. And 1300 15th Avenue North is what's known as the old DMV. So over the last several months, long before I got here, city and county have negotiated and collaborated on what I think is a wonderful trade on paper. It's a trade until you consider the value of the two properties. The DMV is worth approximately $200,000. I apologize, I don't have the specific numbers. I think it's $194,600 is the difference. The DMV is worth more than the land, but at the end of the day, they get what they want. We get another facility that we can get a lot of our seasonal assets under a roof that are currently sitting in a snowbank in some cases. And it's, like I say, in my recommendation, for what it's worth, it's a really good deal. I'll entertain any questions you have on the resolution or the details of the swap.
Thank you, Mr. Iverson. Any comments or questions of Mr. Iverson? All right, seeing none, could I get a motion to approve number 24 in the agenda?
So moved.
Lindas moves approval.
Okay, I heard Councilmember Gilbertson first, and then I heard Lindas.
Second.
Any further comment or questions? Seeing none, could I get a roll call, please?
Dahlquist,
Yes.
Gilbertson,
Aye.
Caroon,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Seldgevold,
Aye.
Hendrickson,
Aye.
Lindas.
Yes.
All right, the resolution has been approved. Yes, I think, Mr. Iverson, we got a great opportunity here, and particularly getting those seasonal assets under a roof is going to be really helpful to keeping them in working condition. Now, moving on to number 27 on the agenda, Ward 2 City Council candidate interviews. And we are going to give everybody 5 minutes to kind of get situated and give us an opportunity to get you guys water and get you situated to your location. So we will reconvene. The clock says 7:21. We will reconvene at 7:26. Thank you.
Are there any instructions that I need to know?
Yep, I'm actually going to just go over them in just a second here.
I saw others getting instructions and I couldn't hear them, so.
Nope, I was just asking how to pronounce everybody's name so I do it correctly.
Oh, perfect. I didn't miss anything then.
Okay, I think everybody is back in the room. So candidates for Ward 2, I want to welcome each of you and say thank you for submitting your name. As you all know, I did hold this seat before council appointed me to the mayor's role in February. So this position is pretty close to my heart since you guys are taking over my opening. It's really wonderful to see so many citizens that are interested in serving the city on Ward 2 for the council member position. Active participation and engagement are keys to successful and healthy city government. And the fact that we have 6 applicants really shows the community spirit that we have here in the city of Moorhead. For the public, we all on council have received written applications and written responses to questions from each of the Ward 2 City Council candidates. And these responses can be found on the City of Moorhead website on the council meetings page under related documents. So for those who want to peruse what the applicants responded to for the questions, you can go there. And city council members have received and reviewed the applications and have read all of your responses. Therefore, tonight with the questions, please do not read your responses to the application questions when I ask you questions tonight. The interview questions tonight are intended to serve as a follow-up to questions in the application and are meant to give you the public opportunity to share more about yourself and your views. I will be asking each of you 6 questions, so each of you will go first at one point in time, and I'll kind of go in the order, and Heather, you'll be last, and then we'll kind of go from there. You will each have 1 minute to answer each of the first 5 questions, and then 2 minutes to answer the final question. If you are at your allotted time, I will prompt you to finish so that I can move on to the next candidate. I believe we are going to have a timer here that will also give you some indication as to when that will be, the time will be done. Heather, I don't know that you'll be able to see that, but I'm hoping you could maybe use a cell phone or something like that, but I'll be monitoring it for you. The City Council tonight will take tonight's responses and your application under advisement, and we'll discuss it at its regular council meeting on April 26th. Finally, if council members have additional questions for the candidates, I encourage you to reach out to the applicants directly. So, now let us begin. First question, and Ms. Anchors, I'm going to start with you, and then we're going to just kind of go down the row, and then Heather, you will respond last. Please tell us why you're interested in serving as a Ward 2 representative on the Moorhead City Council. Just a minute here, I don't think that we can hear you. Sometimes these technology throws us off a little bit. Yep, we will do that. Thank you. Thank you all for your patience. It's always a learning experience when we incorporate new people into the chambers as far as getting the microphones to work and everything like that. And Christina, can you check everybody's to make sure that everybody's is, okay, great, thank you. All right, so I will repeat the question just this time. So please tell us why you're interested in serving as the Ward 2 representative, on the Moorhead City Council.
Well, first of all, thank you for having us, Mayor and council members, and congratulations on being mayor. I was very excited to see that there was an opening for an appointment for council. This gives us an opportunity to serve without running a full-fledged campaign because, as you know, that takes a whole nother ball of wax of energy. I've always had a deep interest in civic affairs. I've always wanted to participate. I've worked full-time for many years, living in Moorhead. I own my own home on Apple Tree Lane. And so when this opportunity arose, I spent about a day thinking about it to see if I had any qualifications and skills I could bring forward, and I found out that I probably do with leadership skills. I like working with people, meeting new people, excited about economic development. I did sit in on the council meeting tonight, and it was a full education on how the government of Moorhead works. I also have some ideas I'd like to bring forth to the council, and maybe that would be another follow-up question. I could save that for later.
Yep, we'll have to have you save that for later because
I am retired and I have time to serve, time to work on subcommittees, time to do research. Is my time up?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Okay.
So, yep, you will see the red light flashing and
when
the red light goes.
flashes.
Yep.
Okay,
mhm.
thank you.
Show when your minute is up. It's
Thank
okay.
you.
You're the first one, so you get to show the rest from how it works. Okay, Michael Hyastek.
Hyastic?
Hyastek.
Nah, don't worry. Everyone butchers it.
Sorry.
All right. I've been a resident from Moorhead now for about 6 years, ever since I started attending MSUM. And now that I'm graduated a couple years ago and everything, I bought a house close to MSUM and everything, and started putting down roots in the community. And I just want to start giving back and everything and start making contribution to this city and help lead in various ways. I mean, if you look at my history and everything that I've done up to my life at this point, I think there's a lot of leadership qualities there that I think would be very beneficial to this city and would really be a boom to help lead in various directions and help progress things. I'm from Crookston, so Moorhead has always been a second home for me, basically, with all the family I have in town. So it just means a lot to kind of would have this leadership position and help do anything I can to make this place a better spot for all our citizens and progress things to the future.
Right, thank you so much. You're perfect, absolutely perfect timing. Mr. Balco.
Yeah, well, I grew up in Moorhead. I went to school in Moorhead. I am a Cobber, and I've always lived here. And I really love living in Moorhead. And I love living in Ward 2. And the past couple years, I have seen incredible growth in Moorhead, and I really want to get involved to help make sure that growth continues sustainably, long into the future. So I want to be involved in the community that I've called home for 31 years.
Right, thank you so much. Mr. Marcourt.
Thank you. Again, I'd also like to thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight and to give us some more information on us as candidates. I take great pride in Moorhead. I've been here about 16 years. I moved across the river for a few years after I graduated from Moorhead State, and happy to move back and be proud Spud. I do have 3 kids in the community and are going to Moorhead High School, middle school. So very proud of them and the schools and what they're doing there as well as I own a small business. And so I've committed myself to the roots of Moorhead and to be here for quite a while. I think the community aspect of it, the small town of a bigger metro area has been a super neat aspect of Moorhead, and we take pride in being residents and having our kids involved in the community as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marcourt. Ms. Getter.
Yes, I have lived in Moorhead for 12 years. I adore the city. I think it's a wonderful place to live and grow. Over the years, I have seen the city and its growth, and I think it's been a wonderful thing, and I would personally like to be involved in further growth as long as it also includes those underserved groups, which we do have some, but I think we have room to grow.
Thank you, Ms. Getter. And Ms. Niesemeyer.
I love Moorhead. I chose to live here. I used to live in another community across the river, and I was drawn here by the community spirit, by the people. I actually was active in the community before I even lived here. but it was the opportunities and the people. And the opportunity to serve on city council was something that community members reached out to me about. And so I actually reached out to relationships in the community to see if it was something that I could reach people in our various diversities, our groups, and really embrace our Moorhead culture, which I think is outstanding and something that really is part of something that we really need to embrace and empower. And our community impact and approach and getting insight from our community is just one of those things that I really like to be part of. The downtown revitalization plan and having all of that community input is just one element that really sort of draws me in. And I think that being part of and representing those in our community is something that I could be a part of, and I would sincerely appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Niesemeyer. I appreciate your comments. All right, we are going to start with you. The second question, we're going to start with you, Michael. What do you believe are the greatest strengths in the city of Moorhead? And again, you have 1 minute.
I think some of the biggest strengths in Moorhead are its people. I mean, the Fargo-Moorhead area have some of the nicest people I think you'll meet in this country and everything. Very friendly and very welcoming. I think that's a huge boom to attract people that want to come here and make them feel welcome, make them feel a part of the community. Our education system I think is very strong with the high school and everything, and the education that MHS provides and everything. Then we also have 2 universities, or 3 I should say, with the tech, and the boom that provides with higher education and attracting young people to our city like me, and then continuing allows them to put in roots here and everything and stick around. I think those are some of the huge pros of our community. Trails and everything and all the environmental parks and everything are very nice, I think.
All right, thank you so much. Mr. Balko.
I think Moorhead's greatest strength is our identity. We're 56560 proud. People who live in Moorhead love Moorhead. We all live in Moorhead for a reason. We love this community. And there's a real passion and care for this community that you don't see on the other side of the river, at least in my opinion. And so I love being a part of this really fun, energetic community. And I can see it, like when you just go on Facebook to Moorhead Fantastic Group, just taking walks around town, or even around this time last year where there was just like that open your doors and shout randomly at 8 p.m. Stuff like that is really what makes Moorhead a really special place to live, and it's one of its greatest strengths.
Thank you so much. Mr. Marquardt.
Well, as an educator, I have to say this: the public school system is amazing. I think looking at the arts in the schools is just amazing and top notch, where other areas don't even compete with. Obviously, having 3 colleges in town is a huge aspect and a wonderful thing, especially when they're such high quality as well. So I think that the education overall in our town is amazing. Obviously, the safety, I think everyone feels safe in our town, which is amazing. And shout out to our police force and our fire department and those people as well. And as well as even though the river might be a deterrent at some point, but it's a huge asset for our area, I think, and it's an area for us to grow and to build community around. And I think it's a great part of our town.
Thank you. Ms. Getter.
I believe that Minnesota Nice is embodied in Moorhead in a very good way. I believe that the parks, our bike paths, the fact that we are growing our walking paths, is all wonderful things. And I do agree that education is such a huge part. Like, we do have 2 major universities and a tech school. And our high schools and primary schools have been known. But I do believe that in that sense, we are probably one of the greatest communities in our area.
Thank you, Ms. Getter. Ms. Niesemeyer.
I'm going to do a shout out to our people. Again, it's our diversity, but it's also the impact of our arts and our culture and how they're sort of implemented and sort of strategically included into our plans like downtown revitalization and Onward Moorhead. And I think that really shows in a variety of our plans how important our people are, how the diversity integrates, there we go, and how that art and culture can really be shown in a variety of ways. And our people come through in our events, and how we can get out on those bike paths, and how our sidewalks have poetry, and a variety of really interesting ways that we can show our heart and our 56560 identity, and how that can be plastered on walls and planted in gardens and in food forests in a variety of ways. And I love that our variety can be shown from top to bottom, left to right, and Moorhead has diversity in a variety of ways. And I think that is one of our ultimate strengths.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Ms. Anchors.
You can call me Gail. Thank you. I concur with whatever each person has said. And in addition, Moorhead has some gems. First of all, we have Theater B, which promotes the arts and theater. And now a Moorhead resident has bought Theater B, so hopefully that will stay in our community. We also have our public library, which is celebrating 60 years in that building. And we also, I believe, we're going to have a new library, and when we do, I hope we have extra meeting rooms and community rooms to utilize. And hey, I support the Moorhead public school system. How about those Spuds with those boys hockey team? And we have excellent teachers. I also support our police force. I am not for defunding our police. We are learning lessons out of Minneapolis, but that means more education for our team, our men and women that serve there. They are hired to protect and serve. They've always helped me when I've needed them. And of course, we have our colleges. Moorhead is known for its 3 C's. It's commerce, it's culture, and it's colleges. And President Blackhurst is doing her best in keeping Moorhead State, and she's incorporated herself into the community with running in the marathon. And I'm really excited to learn more about Onward Moorhead. It's much like the school song, On for Moorhead.
Yes, I didn't.
And that's my feelings. Moorhead is a
Fantastic.
gem.
Thank you, Gail.
Yes.
Great. I believe I started with you, Michael, so on to question 3. Evan, what do you believe are the most compelling issues facing Moorhead?
Right now, I believe the most compelling issue facing Moorhead is economic development, making sure that we have more businesses who are willing to plant down their own roots in Moorhead and set up shop in Moorhead and give us good paying jobs to have good livable wages. So that way we can attract more residents to grow our city, to build more houses, to buy more houses, and to grow our community economically, culturally, diversity-wise, and make our city a better place to live. So making sure that we have a very strong economic foundation to our city, I think that is our most compelling issue we have today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Belko. Mr. Marquardt.
Well, I think we heard it already tonight that the jobs of the open jobs across the town is an issue. It's hard to find workers, and so I think that's an issue coming forward. Obviously, COVID-19 and the effects of that, businesses coming back and making sure they can survive and are proper can do great things in the future. Obviously, making sure housing is available for all residents. And also, I think an issue is the river in itself, making sure we have the proper place in place so that things don't flood and the city is going well. And I know all that is in place and going forward. So I think those would be the main issues going forward.
Thank you so much. Ms. Getter.
I believe that growth is our most compelling sustainable growth. I believe that we need to be able to not only grow, be able to support our growth as we move along. I definitely agree that diversity is a big part of our community and that if we need to incorporate that into everything that we do, including our growth. I would agree that the river is going to be an issue at some point. Making sure we're protected from flooding. Yeah, that's about it.
Right, thank you so much. Ms. Niesemeyer.
I think some of our compelling issues are economic development. As has already been mentioned, I think getting more businesses to come here and supporting our businesses that are here with a labor force and being able to have jobs that have a living wage. And having affordable housing. I think we've had great projects like the Emery Apartments and the Mapleport Township. We need more projects like that. And I think having the state funding, which is an issue, and being able to work with our local legislators to get the funding that we need to work on projects like the community center. I think that those are issues that are compelling for us. Childcare shortages, access to food systems, I think those are compelling issues for our community that I would really look forward to working on.
Thank you so much, Ms. Niesemeyer. Gail.
The question was, what is the important issues facing Moorhead?
What are the most compelling issues?
How many times have you talked to somebody in Fargo and they say it's cheaper to live in Fargo? Well, let me tell you, property taxes in Bismarck just went up. Horace faced a hard reality, and they're going to go up in Fargo too. They got that $64 million flood diversion. Well, that's going to affect their property tax. I think it's a watershed right now for Moorhead. It is a dawn of a new era that we are going to get infrastructure money that is probably going to be passed by the federal government that is hopefully will filter into our community for economic development. And in the meantime, we have parks and recreation. I would also like to see Woodland Park utilized a little bit more. It's a beautiful green space, and I think it's underused. So also with taxes, the underpass over by the high school, I don't know how those specials are going to be assessed, but I hope they would be spread throughout the community and not just on Morningside or Ridgedale, because the whole community will be using that underpass. I see that as a pending issue. Other things, the taxes is big. I want to thank Gate City for giving us $2 million for home improvement loans. I did see that in the paper, and that is great. And supporting the arts. I'd like to see more public art in our community with hanging baskets. We got the street art last summer.
Okay.
I'd like to see more public art.
Thank you so much. Mr. Highstick. Was I close?
Kind of.
Okay.
Close enough. I think one of the biggest immediate issues that we see is COVID relief. I mean, we've seen how much it's devastated our businesses and people around us and everything. So I think just being there and supporting the community with like care dollars and other initiatives to help build back from what has happened, I think is huge. Another big one that's been touched on is economic development, make sure we have good jobs and placements for people that live in our community. Another one that I don't think is really touched on is community engagement, especially with the youth population. You know how many people that know me knew that I was running, like my age? Just one, and that's because he's my cousin. So other than that, nobody knew compared to other old elderly people that came up to my grandpa and everything because we have the same name. He's like, oh, you're coming out of retirement and everything? I'm glad to hear that. And he's like, what are you talking about? And then found out that I was running. So I think youth engagement would be huge.
Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to question number 4, Mr. Marquardt. Please complete this sentence. Moorhead should.
I think continue the many great things we have. I think the foundation of Moorhead is top notch, meaning the utilities, the fire department, the police department, our healthcare systems, our schools, our roads. I think it's a wonderful foundation that's been built. And upon that, we're going to do great things for Moorhead. And upon that, Moorhead should somehow get some kind of indoor facility, because as it rained the last 3 days and being as part of softball as well in town, there's no place to go in town for indoor facilities when the weather's not so nice. And it's not only for sports, but it's also for the community, for health reasons, for fitness and those things as well. So really look at activities throughout the town, indoor, outdoor, increased green space. I mean, there's already great green space, and the free little pools around town is amazing. Those are great attributes, but we should continue to look at how we can improve our town with fitness and indoors and outdoors.
Thank you. Ms. Getter.
Moorhead should I'll start off with community center. I think a community center would be a great addition to Moorhead. As Mr. Marquardt has said, we do not really have a space where we can go to work out or just socialize indoors. We have plenty of outdoor space. We do not really have an indoor space. Along with that, I do believe that we should continue to honor our heritage. I do enjoy the heritage incentive. The fact that, yes, we only have a couple heritage buildings, but the warehouse, I believe that has always been a beautiful thing to me every time I've driven down that road. And I think that we should continue to enforce that while continuing to grow our city outwards. Again, I believe growth is something that we should focus on, along with inclusion for our more diverse community, which we do have in abundance.
All right, thank you so much. Ms. Niesemeyer.
Moorhead should leverage community connections, relationships to build and grow our outstanding community. I look around our room and I see a lot of individuals who could and should be here. I know one of the other applicants just mentioned youth engagement. I think that we have a lot of opportunities with youth engagement. I know that there are a lot of opportunities for cultural events and activities or perspectives that we could empower and lift up. And I think that if we leveraged those community connections and relationships, any project or initiative will be better because of it.
Thank you so much for your response. Gail.
Moorhead should. David, I agree with you. We need a community place. Several years ago on Highway 75, there was a sign that said home of the YMCA. That is no longer there. The Fargo YMCA partnered with Sanford, and they were able to build a wellness center. And somehow I would like to see Moorhead have a wellness center also. Also, Moorhead, I think, could use another community for 55 and older. There's lots south of 40th Avenue. I think that's a need in our community. And also, I believe Moorhead should take a look. I am a member, I belong to the Fergus Falls chapter of community climate legislation, whereas encouraging communities to use less carbon emissions and to buy back carbon. And we now have a cabinet member at the federal level for environment. And I just think on the cutting edge, we should be on that. In a few years, all the car companies are going electric. So just to be proactive and to be watching for that. In the meantime, if we could get a community center for families, for meeting rooms, for more of a community feel, I think that'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gonna try it again. Hyostic.
There you go.
Yes.
I saw the red light, come on.
I think Moorhead should keep growing, and that just doesn't mean growing as in size and everything. That means developing and improving things that we're already doing, and we are seeing that with the new underpass development by MSUM, the new project we're going to start doing on 11th Street and everything, revitalization of downtown and various other initiatives we are doing to support the people and everything. I just think we need to keep growing, keep developing, keep progressing towards the future. I do like what they touched on, other fellow candidates about the indoor space and everything. I think that'd be a huge boom. You see these bubbles and everything that are used by local local teams of various age levels when the weather gets crappy, especially because we have snow and, we're probably getting a snowstorm tomorrow and everything. So be a huge boom for the people and allow various different teams and groups to use it in those less than ideal months.
Thank you. Mr. Balco.
Moorhead should tell its story. We are a beautiful city. We're a great place to call home and a great place to do business. And we need to make sure that everyone knows that. So we can attract more families to plant their roots here, more businesses to set up shop here, more students to come here to learn and to graduate into our community and to stay put. So we need to spread the message of why Moorhead is a great place to live and to do business and make sure that we can attract more people so we can grow our city.
Thank you. All right, moving on to question number 5. Ms. Getter, are you available to attend City Council meetings the second and fourth Monday of each month, in addition to numerous other meetings that City Council members are expected to attend?
Yes, I am.
All right, we will move on to Ms. Niesemeyer.
Yes, and I'm terribly excited for it.
I'm anticipating we're not going to be taking a full minute for this one. Gail.
Yes, I am available to attend the meetings and subcommittee meetings or other assignments you give me. I perceive myself as an adjunct to you and to help and to serve you.
Mr. Hyastek.
Yes, as a software developer, I'm very blessed in my current role with having a very flexible work schedule, so I can work around with whatever happens.
Mr. Balco.
I would be very excited to be able to participate in City Council and to be able to participate in my community and do what I can to help make Moorhead better.
And Mr. Marquardt.
Yes, I would be available as well. And also not only that, but also to be reaching out to members of the community during that time, getting feedback so I can have proper responses and knowledgeable on the issues that are coming forward at those meetings.
Thank you. And our last question for the night, Ms. Niesemeyer, and this question for all the candidates, you will get 2 minutes for your response. Ms. Niesemeyer, is there anything else you would like to say to inform the City Council's decision?
I believe I have a strong community connection and a great deal of history with the city of Moorhead. From the peanut butter and jelly school lunch fundraiser to the Ellen Hopkins Nature Play Park and its development. I have a focus on listening and being collaborative, bolstering inclusive spaces for everyone to engage. We've got an outstanding downtown revitalization plan that I can't wait to be part of the implementation. I want to help usher in upcoming infrastructure upgrades. I want to work towards funding opportunities with local legislators for things like the community center that many of us have mentioned tonight. I've heard a great deal of community excitement about such a space. I want to work with local businesses with opportunities that they have with expanding or putting down roots here. I can see the process of revitalizing our community with the 11th Street underpass, not only with the additional green spaces, but the businesses, the walkability, the bikeability. A lot of what our identity has been made with Moorhead, I can see myself and the members of the community that I would be able to connect with and continue my relationships that I already have. I see more affordable housing options flourishing in our community. The comprehensive plan, Onward Moorhead, I'm very excited with the phases that have been laid out in the plan. And I was excited to hear Robin say that more is coming. I'm just excited. I would like to be on the front lines of listening and to constituents, to businesses, to people on the streets, to leverage our diversity, our young, active community that loves green spaces, to formulate the vision of our future, right?
Okay,
to think of goals and action steps.
Thank you, Ms. Niesemeyer. I appreciate that. Gail.
I would like the council to know that I have lived in Moorhead on and off for 50 years. I am a homeowner. I am subject to taxes and to specials. I try to keep abreast of all the current events that are going on in the city. I support our public schools, and anything we can do to help our schools, we should go for it. If we don't have schools, we don't have a town, and then the value of our homes will also drop. So we always have to support our schools, support the infrastructure, of course, and of course have a positive relationship with Michelle Keeler, who is our House rep. I don't believe her name's been mentioned tonight. We have to have open communications with her and of course with Senator Egan. Any bills that we can pass to help our city offices or our community, we should help to be advocates for that. I also think we should promote volunteerism in any way we can. I checked our website, and there's lots of ways citizens can get involved with the community, and will be encouraging that from this day forward. Partner with the school system if we have to, if we want to, if we think that is a good way to go, to help students volunteer, because they probably don't know what's available for them. And anything we can do to support our community with fair housing and our diversified culture to make it a safe, healthy place to live. It's a great community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gail. Mr. Hyastik.
Thank you. I think I just have a very unique skill set that can really help and be a boom for Moorhead, the community. I mean, especially look at my age and everything and how I can do a job with giving a voice to the younger people in our city that I don't think are as engaged or aren't getting their voices heard and everything. I think I'd be huge on getting their voices out there and everything. You also look at me as a software developer and everything. I mean, if your phone's on the brink of everything, I can help you out. But on a serious note, I mean, technology is so involved in our lives, and it's not going away anytime soon. So someone that is an expert in that field and that can navigate all these like complex technical issues that can get kind of confusing and help, navigate Moorhead for the best possible future that we can, I think is just huge. And while you look at me, you can think I have a lack of experience and everything regarding my age. I don't see it that way if you look at my history, such as being in the advisory board at MSUM to the dean, which was nominated by my professors and everything to be the voice for my fellow students in the department. And then also I was elected to student senate at MSUM, being the voice of the students for my college and everything, and all the various other leaderships and things in my past. I think is just a good inclination of how I would serve in this role and help be a leader for various citizens in Moorhead, helping their voices be heard and progress our city towards the future, making this a place where people want to move to when they're young and everything, lay down roots, start a family, and then stay here and grow old and everything, and be a part of our amazing community in Moorhead.
Thank you, sir, very much for your response. Mr. Balco.
If appointed, I would bring to City Council a decade of experience in communications, marketing, public relations, and storytelling, which I can use to help Moorhead tell its story, to help Moorhead market itself, to help Moorhead be able to communicate with its residents and communicate to potential residents and potential businesses. So that way we can grow our community by bringing more people in, bringing more business in. I want to do everything I can to be able to help Moorhead continue its growth. We're on an incredible growth trajectory right now, thanks to the great leadership we have in city. And I want to be able to contribute to that leadership, and I want to be able to help us grow sustainably long into the future. And so I believe that I have the skill set to be able to help City Council assist the rest of the city to be able to continue on its incredible growth as we improve our city economically, culturally, and diversity-wise.
Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Marquardt.
Well, soon we'll be hooking up our camper, and the first thing we do is we Google where we're going and what town and what to do in that community. And that makes a decision for us if we go there or not. And so as people Google Moorhead, are there things in town that will entice them to come here, to spend their money here, to vacation here, to do things? I think that's one avenue that is important that I'll be working on to ensure those things are here. You think of all the activities that students are in and basketball tournaments and those things, and people go to those places. And can we offer those things in our community to ensure revenues coming in, ensure people coming and visiting our town. And that's one thing we want to do. We want visitors to come in. We want to see how wonderful they are. They'll see that foundation that we've built of the strong, things I mentioned before with our community, with our police, with our fire stations, and all those things that is already super strong. They'll see those things. They'll like, hey, let's move to Moorhead. And so as we're going out into the summer looking at that, and as I hopefully come on the council, I'll be definitely an advocate to improve our town, to ensure that we have things that bring people in, hopefully to move here, but if not to move here, at least to visit. And when they do that, they'll be bringing in that revenue and that money that they bring with them. And lastly, I think it's important to do our celebrations at the great things we are currently doing. Even tonight with that financial award, promoting those great things that Moorhead's already doing is top notch. And celebrating Greater Moorhead Days and those things, and we have a wonderful community, and so let's promote it. Let's shout out to the community and statewide as well. As if I'm on here an advocate for Ward 2, but also for the city, but also statewide. It's not just for here, but I think it's time to promote and to get out there and just advertise how great our town is. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marquardt. And last but not least, Ms. Getter.
I believe in inclusion and diversity. I believe that I listen to a lot of the underserved communities in our area. I truly believe that Moorhead is one of the greatest cities in Minnesota. I think we could do so much if we listened to all the people in our communities, from young to old to disabled to really anyone. And everyone in our community deserves a voice. And regardless if they are in Ward 2 or not, I will listen to every word they tell me and attempt to accommodate their needs if I am selected. I truly believe in the growth that we need to do to make sure that we not only remain a great community, but we grow and expand our community in such ways as, the heritage and the just aiming to bring in new businesses. So I fully support a lot of the measures that are coming through right now, and I think as a longtime Moorhead resident, and I believe that I will be here for a long time to come, you're doing great things, and I would like to be on the forefront of that.
Thank you, Ms. Getter. That kind of concludes our questions for the night. I kind of felt like a game show host there for a minute with the timer. Again, I want to say thank you and extend our gratitude and appreciation for all of the interest in the Ward 2 City Council position. And just to remind everyone that the council members have received your written applications and responses to the questions, and those can be found at the City of Moorhead website on the council meetings page under related documents. And the council, again, is going to take your responses tonight and your applications under advisement, and we will be discussing it at our next council meeting, which is on April 26th. And finally, just a reminder, if council members have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to the candidates. You have their contact information, and vice versa. Candidates, feel free to reach out to the council members. This is in an appointment that is just been done by council, and I don't know, City Attorney Shockley, if you want to just provide a little bit more information about that appointment process for the candidates and us, and also for the public.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So at the next City Council meeting, the council will take up the matter of the appointment. The appointment will take 4 out of the 7 votes. Unless there's one council member missing, then it would be 3 of the 6. That's what's required. There's not really a very defined process in the city charter about how you narrow down which candidate you want to select for the position. That is, at the end of the day, that's truly a political policy decision for the council. All of the candidates are qualified under the charter to hold the office. And so the rest of the decision-making is up to the council in this regard.
All right, thank you so much. And have a great evening, candidates, and thank you again for just participating in the process. All right.
Thank you.
Moving on to mayor and council reports. Do I have anyone who would like to provide a report to the council? Councilmember Dahlquist.
Thank you, Mayor. I really don't have anything to report, but I would like to ask the people in Moorhead, if you were listening to this, to send emails to us. We'd like to hear what you think on the candidates.
Thank you, thank you, Councilmember Dahlquist. Any other council members have a report to make? Okay, seeing none, I do have a few things to report from the mayor reports. I just wanted to give a shout out to the Diamond Kids Laptop Training Program. I was able to be at the graduation of some kiddos who got their laptops after going through a 4-week training. And it was really heartening to hear the young kids talk about that the one thing that they learned was to not give their password out to anybody. And these kids were very excited to get their laptop. But a universal theme was when they were presented that not to give out their laptop. I also wanted to get a thank you to Senator Klobuchar for coming to the city of Moorhead on April 8th. She was here to promote some senior fraud legislation, something that's really near and dear to my heart, since that is something that I do in my day job to really mobilize communities to address abuse, neglect, and financial exploitation against older and vulnerable adults. On April 9th, as the chair of the FM Diversion Project, I also led a meeting where we discussed the Red River I-29 grade separation, where an award was given out to industrial builders. Senator Hoeven, Senator Klobuchar, and Governor Burgum and Colonel Jansen were all in attendance at that meeting on April 9th, and it was quite the exciting day for the diversion project, awarding out that contract and also getting the news from the North Dakota legislature that $435 million were going to be given to the diversion. Also a diversion update, particularly with the Red River control structure, that is 67% done being built, and so the diversion project is well underway. I also wanted to give out, and I probably should have done it when Travis Schmidt was here, just a congratulations to Moorhead Public Service for receiving national recognition for achieving exceptional electric reliability in 2020. This comes from the American Public Power Association that represents more than 2,000 not-for-profit community-owned electric companies. So this was quite the achievement for Moorhead Public Service. And I just wanted to extend appreciation and not appreciation, congratulations to MPS. Also, another, well, actually, I think probably Mr. Molly City Manager Molly will be talking about the green step for city. Nope, okay, then I will. Moorhead is now a green step for city. This means that we will be recognized by the League of Minnesota Cities this summer. And hats off to Gabriel Lomwin for helping Moorhead reach this significant goal. We are one step away from top spot number 5. And the last thing that I want to do, thank you very much, Chris Ratty, for pulling that up. And I need to get my notes on this. Wanted to read it. I apologize here. This is a life-saving award that I wanted to highlight. And I thought I had taken a screenshot of the reason why this officer achieved this award. So if you want to hold on for just a minute, I will pull this up on my phone, since I had it on my computer, but then my computer died. So, all right, there we go. So this is Officer Zimmel. On the afternoon of February 19th, 2021, Officer Zimmel responded to a South Moorhead apartment for a report of a female possibly not breathing and turning purple. When Officer Zimmel arrived on the scene, he found the victim who was not breathing and did not have a pulse. Officer Zimmel immediately began administering CPR. A short time later, the victim regained a pulse and was breathing. Members of the Moorhead Fire Department and the FM ambulance arrived on the scene and took over the care. It was later determined the female had ingested heroin before the medical issues had started. Officer Zimmel had a substantial role during the call for service by taking crucial steps in resuscitating the victim. And for his quick response and immediate actions, our police chief, Monroe, awarded Officer Zimmel from the Moorhead Police Department with the Life-Saving Award. And I think particularly during this time of COVID, to remember that our officers are going out to homes and putting themselves in precarious and vulnerable situations. And I just wanted to extend congratulations to Officer Zimmel for achieving this award, and congratulations to him. Okay. All right, on to the city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor. Say, did you mention the coffee with the mayor this week?
I did not, but please
I
feel
can
free.
do that. Yeah, happy to. So so it's the coffee with the mayor with Ward 4 council members, Thursday, April 15th at 6 to 7. All in the community are welcome to participate, and you can, register for that on the website, cityofmoorhead.com. The Earth Day is April 22nd, and this year's theme is Restore the Earth. And so here in Moorhead, we've, I guess, converted it to Earth Week. And so we have a goal of getting every park, street, trail, and pond adopted as part of a citywide cleanup initiative. So we encourage folks to participate, and that also is linked up on the front page. During that week, hopefully, we'll see a lot of the debris after the winter picked up and taken care of as we get ready to spend spring, summer outdoors. It's gonna be a great summer. And so, and then I just want to say, the Ward 2 candidate interviews were really incredible tonight and recognize their effort. And I wanted to especially thank you, the City Council, for trusting in the process. This was. Let me see. How do I say this? This tonight truly is the starting line. So. Applications were due and the such. There hasn't been any, pre-meetings or planning, side meetings or anything. The mayor graciously offered to ask the questions. So tonight, council or the candidates presented themselves. Their applications are available on the website. Council members are encouraged to reach out to them directly. They can reach out to you. Please expect emails and questions and stuff. The next couple of weeks should be very interesting, and then we'll discuss it, or the council will discuss it. As City Attorney John Shockley says, this purely is a political decision. We aren't part of this. But I do want to say thank you for trusting the process and letting tonight happen and the next couple of weeks happen in that discussion on April 26th. That is just, I'm just inspired by the openness and the transparency of this whole thing. It is not easy for a community to go through this, and so I really appreciate our work together to get to the finish line and refill our city council. Thank you.
All right, thank you, City Manager Molly. Moving on to number 30 on the agenda, we need to go into executive session pursuant to Minnesota statute section 13D-.04 for labor negotiations. Could I get a motion to go into executive session, please?
So moved.
Linda so moves.
Okay, Councilmember Gilbertson actually said it first, so he'll get the motion. Councilmember Lindas, would you like to second?
I'm happy to be second.
Thank you. All right. And if we can do a roll call, please.
Dahlquist?
Yes.
Gilbertson?
Aye.
Caroon?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Seljevold?
Aye.
Hendrickson?
Aye.
Lindas?
Yes.
Okay, we are now in executive session. that everyone back? Okay, all right, we are back out of executive session. Do I have a motion to approve 30A? Or, I'm sorry, 30B.
Lindos moves approval.
Gilbertson second.
All right, I have a motion and a second to approve labor agreement and memorandum of understanding between the City of Moorhead and Law Enforcement Labor Services for police officers. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, could I get a roll call, please?
Dahlquist,
Yes.
Gilbertson,
Aye.
Caroon, White,
Yes.
Seljevold,
Aye.
Hendrickson,
Aye.
Lindos.
Yes.
All right, the resolution passes. Do we have any new business? Councilmember Seljevold.
Yeah, last time we saw a presentation on the Bird electric scooters, and I'm wondering if city staff can just maybe present something to us next time that we can either vote A or nay on this item?
Yes, if the council is open to that, we can do a little research, and, it'll, the issue would require a franchise ordinance, so it'd look a lot like a public hearing, probably, in 2 readings. So there's a process, but happy to proceed in that manner.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Seljevold and City Manager Molly. Also, Councilmember Seljevold reminded me that today is the start of Ramadan, and I know that we have a lot of citizens in Moorhead who started celebrating at sundown tonight, so just wanted to send a shout out and say happy, I think that would be the appropriate way to say it, happy Ramadan 2021. I think that is it. Do we have any other, or any citizens that wish to address the council online? None at this time. All right, well, it's 8:36, and I'm going to adjourn our city council meeting for the night. Have a great night, Moorhead.